However, in the late Renaissance music, a different texture emerged. It was the antagonism between discant and bass that began an entirely new sense of form. A sensuous delight in color and the expression of extreme emotion replaced harmony, order, and balance. The Baroque cast its shadows.
The Baroque period is generally seen as the art of the Counter-Reformation. With the Reformation, the Catholic Church had lost a very large number of its believers and needed to reform itself. The said Reformation is manifested in the different art forms.
There was also a change in the architectural layout of church buildings, bringing the priests and public closer together. In a similar way, music composers changed the relationship to the building and the congregation. Baroque composers took up new themes as the opera scene depicted illusions, matching the painted heavens of Baroque churches. The element of surprise in the performances, the soaring trumpets in the theater-like atmosphere of the heavily decorated Baroque churches, the painted heavens, the contorted, convex and concave movements of painted saints and angels, the ornate vestments of priests, the scented air of incense, the light cascading from the dome became Jesuit theater, laying and touching all of the senses.
Baroque music, especially in that of the greatest of the era's composers, Johann Sebastian Bach, the new arts of sonority and color came into being. A polarity of voices developed, where the main importance and tension fell upon the alto voices, or the soprano and bass, with the middle voices, or altos and tenors, filling in. Yes, Baroque period composers broke with the past and brought a new emotion to the music. The alto voices provided the framework of the composition, and the chord became the building stone in its own right, and the basso continuo, the fundament. The fusing of such fundamental bass practice with counterpoint became the foundation for the fugue technique for Bach and Handel.
In Baroque music, painting and literature, the inclination was to withdraw from the realism of life, seeking enchantment in the life beyond, moving toward the marvelous, the stupendous, and the supernatural.
We have already related music of the medieval, Renaissance, and Baroque to other art forms and its history within the era. For the assessment, your task is to determine whether the statement is true or false. You shall be given 5 seconds to give your answer. Are you ready? Let's get started!
During the medieval period, music was monophonic and single-line plain chant.
If you have answered true, you are correct. Just like the single-line plain chants, painting was also two-dimensional, single-line, and without any pictorial depth during the medieval period.
In the morality plays during the medieval period, the character of the protagonist was dynamic.
If you have answered false, you are correct. The protagonist character was flat and not dynamic. Protagonists were either simply good or simply evil, with no psychological depth and no evolutionary change during the course of the tale.
Just like the tonic triad in Renaissance music, the classical triangle in painting centered the image on canvas.
If you have answered true, then you are correct. Painting during the Renaissance era had abandoned the medieval emphasis on narrative scenes and arrived at the central perspective.
The Baroque period is generally seen as the art of counter-reformation.
If your answer is true, you are correct. The Catholic Church needed to reform itself because it had lost a very large number of its believers.
In Baroque music, painting, and literature, the inclination was to focus on the realism of life.
If your answer is false, you are correct. In Baroque music, painting, and literature, the inclination was not to focus, but to withdraw from the realism of life. Basing on what we discussed today, we can say that music and other art forms in each of the eras are interconnected. It should be noted that in the medieval period, plain chants, paintings, and sculptures commonly possessed linearity. However, unity and centrality were manifested in musical and artistic works in the Renaissance period. Meanwhile, we can consider that the ornamented music and the arts of the Baroque represent the final and highly refined crystallization of an aristocratic lifestyle.
It is undeniable that the reason why music, painting, drama, architecture, and sculpture are related to each other is because they all employ elements like repetition, variety, intensity, rhythm, dialogue, balance, unity, and so on to capture their unique feature in their respective time.
Dear learners, see you again in our next episodes here in DepEd TV. I am Sister Jason saying, if there is no music, there will never be a human soul, because music is the language of the soul.